Right, this is New Year's Day. A little bit blowy, but very mild. About 12 degrees today, so I think, pretty sure New Year's Day last year was record-breaking high temperatures. That's around 14, so we're not far off that. So it is very mild. But following on from that freeze damage we had, or that nasty freeze event we had a couple of weeks ago, I've been looking around the garden just to see the sort of slow occurring damage, as it were, rather than sort of instantaneous. Some things you see straight away, but specifically with palms, that could take months for the damage to show up. But there's one in particular in the centre bed here which pretty much I think is dead. So let's have a look at that, and we'll look at some of the more half-hardy palms rather than stuff that we know is going to be fine. We'll look at the ones that are always going to be borderline, and we'll take it from there. But just as a sort of start to the video, what we'll do is we'll look at my newest palm, Brahea odorata, which I was concerned about being probably imported, not seeing any cold conditions maybe, but looking at it, it really is still looking flawless. I mean, just this small bit of protection, just an overhead cover and cover on the one side, and that really has done the job. There's absolutely no damage on this whatsoever, but to be fair, I think I probably, which is probably a good thing, I went over the top thinking this is probably not going to be hardy whatsoever. It's probably never seen any cold weather. But even the fronds, as we can see, I left a couple sticking way out of the overhead cover, and even them at -4 have taken no damage. They're still looking really good. So yeah, I probably didn't give this palm enough credit for how hardy it's going to be. I know on paper and genetically they should be hardy, but like I say, we don't know where it's come from. But in fairness, like I say, I'm not even seeing any damage on these fronds that are sticking out of the shelter. So that's the good news story. So let's get back to some of the more borderline stroke half-hardy palms. And I did have a request for an update on the Parajubaea, so we'll start there. I did sort of look at this, I don't know, a week or so after the freeze, and we'll have another look at it now. And to be expected, a lot of the older fronds, they were already brown tipped from previous winter's damage, so that's nothing new, but they are starting to discolour a little bit further down the petiole. But again, they are old fronds. The newer fronds, we've had some that opened up sort of over the summer last year now. Absolutely green, looking fine there. They have sort of seem to sort of closed up a little bit, but other than that, I don't really expect to have a problem with this palm. Like I say, it is sort of under a shelter, so that's keeping the worst of the frost and the wet out, and it is in a raised planted area as well, so the roots have good drainage. So this is not a palm I was ever really concerned about, even with the prolonged cold period we had. So in my eyes, come spring, I'm probably going to remove some of these really old fronds and give it a chance to flush out. And this does seem to be pushing out at least 2 or 3 fronds at a time, so hopefully by summer they start pushing out and that'll look nice, full and green again. Right, so in the centre bed here we've got several very small palms, and most totally, I would say, 100% hardy for UK, or most of the UK anyway. The one exception would be the Brahea edulis. So let's have a good look at that, because I've noticed this has been browning off over the last week. And these were all totally green fronds before that freeze period. And I did this morning look at the 2 spears and they did pull out. So I don't hold much hope for this one. Yeah, totally rotted out from the centre. Yeah, it's even a little tiny spear in the centre there which is pulled out. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% fussed about this palm, because unless you're really into your palms and you're an expert, none of the other leaves are pulling out. You'd just think that's a Trachycarpus fortunei or something like that. But yeah, so just like a plain green form of the blue Mexican fan palm, which is obviously a lot nicer, and for me I guess is a lot hardier, or a little bit hardier at least. So the chances are this one's going to die, but we'll give it every chance. So what I'm going to do, got some hydrogen peroxide here, this is 3% solution. I'm just going to pour a little bit of that into the crown, and it is a dry day and it's fairly windy, so it's not going to cause any problems in the way of making the problem worse. And at this stage we've got nothing to lose, so I'm going to pour just a little bit of this in there, and I expect that to fizz up as it kills any dead growth in there. And what I might do is just put a small shelter over that to stop any rain getting in the crown. And we'll give it every chance, but I expect it to be dead, but you never know. I expected my Phoenix canariensis to be dead a few years back, and that pulled back. So I mean, I'd never give up on a palm, but in reality I don't give it much chance. But we'll pour a little in and see what happens. So there's not a lot, because you could do you don't want too much sort of liquid sitting in the centre there, just a little bit, just to kill any of that bacteria that may start growing on the rotted out growth. So we'll do that. Like I say, I might cover this up just to give it a chance, and then I might do it again, just a little drop in there, literally 2 or 3 mil, and I might do that on a weekly basis and see what happens. But like I say, I don't give up much hope for that. I think in reality that's probably dead, but on the plus side I've got plenty of other palms to replace that with, so I may well put a sable palmetto or something like that in there. And I know they get big, but a lot of these palms get big, but they're so slow growing that I'm not concerned about that. So yeah, we'll have something to replace it with. So that's probably dead, but everything else looks pretty good. Sago palm has taken damage. These fronds that were bright green before the freeze, I did put a frost cloth over the last couple of days of the freeze on the coldest nights, but yeah, they're still taking damage, but I don't expect that to cause too much of a problem. These are quite tough little plants. These can totally defoliate and then they will flush out again. And this did freeze solid in the centre, but there's nothing mushy in there. That's nice and solid, so not concerned about that. It's just going to look rough until I flush out again. One that did surprise me is the sable mine. This is quite a small one, which I did have in the front garden, which I transplanted sort of late summer, and they're still looking quite nice and green. I did cut a leaf off that when I dug it up, just due to the fact that, you know, losing a bit of roots, you want to lose a leaf or two as well. So that'll be one to watch over the spring and summer. So that was the sort of the other one I was concerned about, but I think they are pretty tough plants. They don't like being moved, obviously, so that's not going to help on top of that cold period, but not too concerned about that. I'm sure that will pull through, and if it didn't, I've got other sable miners I can replace that with. But everything else I expect to be absolutely fine. So we've got the Camerops cerifera there, blue Mediterranean fan palm, absolutely unfazed by the -4s we had. Real tough little palms these, no damage at all to the leaves, no spot on. Pretty much the same for this Etna star. So this is newly planted in here. We have got a bit of brown spot on, which is not entirely unexpected. Like I say, with these Mediterranean type palms, they do tend to get the brown spots over the winter period just due to the damp, where they obviously come from a bit more of a drier environment. But all the newer leaves are really looking quite good. Nice white underside. So yeah, I mean, I hesitate to say, but that's probably the only plant so far that's probably confirmed dead. Is the Brahea edulis. But like I say, I mean, that was the gamble I took. That's the first year sort of fully open, and the first year we've had a nasty freeze like that for a while, so that's just the way that luck goes. But not too concerned. Like I say, we've got other palms we can replace that with, but we will give it every chance to pull through. So going on from that, I mean, some of the other plants that did show a lot of damage was some of the more tender cordylines. So this is the superstar. I have a larger one over the other side of the garden, which looks very similar to this, if not probably a little bit worse. A lot of the older leaves, where they're probably sort of protected by the newer fronds leaves, still look pretty good, still got some nice colour in them, but the stuff more sort of top end, more exposed, these leaves are dead. But the encouraging sign is that the centre spear, and I have given this a pull, and I've opened it up a little bit, and right in the centre there's still colour and it's still stiff, so it hasn't collapsed. So I've got no doubt that I will recover in time. Similar situation with the pink passion cordline, which we already knew was weakened by being moved twice over last year, dug up once into a pot and then relocated here after that recovered from the initial shock of being dug up. Totally lost its colour. I say totally, there's still some pink in the centre, but again, the centre spears aren't pulling out, and I'm pulling in pretty hard, and it hasn't collapsed yet. I mean, the trunk itself is still solid, so I believe that'll be recovered by the end of summer and probably look nice again. yeah, so interestingly, so there's some of the more commonly available cordylines which we know are sort of half hardy in a cold winter, and one that we think is probably on more the tender side is a cordylline indivisor, and yet this one is literally no damage at all, and it is tucked away and sheltered a bit in here, but this is the shady side of the garden, so it never really defrosted during the day, whereas a lot of the more exposed places in the garden probably got a good thaw out between each freeze. But yeah, this one is pretty much looking flawless. So yeah, that is the indivisor. You can see by the orange stripe in the centre of the leaves, and yeah, not seeing any damage on that. I mean, that is a real slow grower. I mean, I've had this for 4 years, and this may have doubled in size in them 4 years, so it's a real slow one. So yeah, when I first got the plant, that's probably half the size of that, but slow, but seems quite sturdy. So yeah, that is one maybe I was concerned about, just due to the fact that it's probably harder to replace than a lot of other cord lines. I mean, a lot of them are readily available to an extent. I know the superstars are still a little bit hard to get hold of, and they're still quite pricey, but this is one you don't really, a lot of people advertise them as indivisor, but you don't really get a true plant to the name. But I mean, that is one that, you know, is going to be harder to replace, and like I say, they are slow growing. So looking on from there, we have got the fats here. I know I did sort of look at these plants straight after the freeze, but this is, you know, 2.5 weeks on, and the fats here, this is the variegated fats here, and some of the leaves have taken damage. Not too concerned, the growth point is still looking good, whereas if, you know, we start getting brown in the centre, then, you know, you might lose the top growth, and that might reshoot from the sides. Right, so interestingly, we have got, I mean, if you've watched any previous videos, I bought a couple of zebra ferns a week or two before the freeze, which I've kept in the polytunnel, which is a good job I did. But this is the same fern, but without the zebra stripes. It's just the plain green version, so they are fairly hardy, or fairly evergreen anyway. That has taken damage from them cold temperatures, but we can see there's green. Some of the older leaves have browned off, but we've still got some leaves, so they are fairly hardy. I mean, if not leaf hardy, but they'll grow back again from the roots in spring. And yeah, talking about the zebra fern, so that is the plain green version. I have got a zebra fern in the ground, which when I originally bought the ones I just mentioned, I said I had one in the ground, so this is the one that's in the ground. So again, it is underneath the canopy of the tree fern here. But yeah, so they do take a bit of browning on the leaves, but they are fairly hardy. You know, we've seen -4, and yeah, they're still pretty much green. So yeah, some brown edges to the leaves, but they are hardy. And I know someone did pick up on the fact that on the label, a little bit naughty on the label, they said sort of indoor outdoor fern, and then it said minimum temperature 10 degrees. Well, these are saying -4, and last year we had several -2s, and you know, they survived in the ground for the last 2 years, 2 winters, and they are fairly slow going. I mean, this frond was new like it used to saying last year, yeah, sort of last spring, this one shot up. All the older foliage did die off. This one shot up, and we did have that very hot summer, which I think sort of held it back. Did a lot of this browning is probably from the summer, to be fair. It's not actually cold damage, but yeah, so they are fairly hardy, and they're nice looking palms, nice looking ferns with them stripy leaves. Right, the video's starting to go on a bit, so I'll stop it here, and I might do another one. But yeah, so I just want to address the fact that we've probably got a dead palm there. Like I say, I'm not going to give up on it totally. I'd say it's probably 99% dead, but we'll give that 1% chance. And we've pulled the rotten spears out, got them nice and early. We've treated the rot, and we'll continue to treat that. And I will put a cover just to stop the wet getting right in that hollow crown now, and we'll see come spring whether the whole thing collapses or whether we get any regrowth. But like I say, probably dead. Right, thanks for watching, catch you on the next one.